What an awesome year for .NET developers. The largest release of .NET yet with .NET 8, brand new features in the languages that we know and love, amazing productivity features and tons of performance enhancements, and one of my favorite features launched into preview, which is .NET Aspire for cloud native development. Now, as a .NET developer, there's so much to love, but there's tons of great productivity that's packed into my favorite IDE of all time, Visual Studio. And today I want to break down my top 10 features that were released this year in Visual Studio 2022 in 2023. So tune in. All right, let's get into it. My top 10 favorite features released in Visual Studio 2022 in 2023. Not confusing at all, but yes, these are my favorite features that I use kind of in development almost every single day that I've really fallen in love with that were released this year. If you like any of these features and you're using them, give it a thumbs up on this video. Super appreciate it. Lets everyone else know that these are awesome features that you're loving. Or if you agree or disagree or have other features, let me know in the comments below as well. But let's get into number one, which is Dev Tunnels. Dev Tunnels is one of my favorite features. I did a whole video on the actual integration, but also on the CLI that also came out. And what's cool about Dev Tunnels is that it lets you take your local host sort of development and create a unique online URL that tunnels to your local machine. This is really great if you use things like code spaces, you're doing tunneling all the time, and it's directly integrated into Visual Studio 2022. So what this means as a mobile developer, I can in my backend, I can serve it up and I can put that unique URL that I'm debugging locally on my machine into my mobile app so I can do that full round trip and it gets tunneled back. And that's really nice. I don't have to worry about HTTP or HTTPS, or it even allows me to put it on my device and then talk directly to my machine over the interweb. So let's go ahead and check it out. So here I just have a standard blank localhost application. We can see localhost 7068 with a weather forecast here. I can totally try it out. Amazing. And then we can see it's just running locally here, which is great. So nothing fancy about this, just any normal, this can be an ASP.NET Core API, a website. This could be a Teams application, Azure function, anything. But check this out. All I got to do is go in the debug dropdown and go into Dev Tunnels and say create Dev Tunnel. This allows me to create my dev tunnel. So under my account here, I'm going to say this is my awesome tunnel. And then I have different types. So it's really evolved over the years since my original video. So here I can say temporary or persistent. So the persistent will, every time I open this project, will give me that URL back and save that tunnel for me. Now I can also create a private one, an organizational wide, or a public one. So that's really nice if I want it to be publicly accessible. And I just hit OK. So now it's gone ahead and created the dev tunnel for me. I can come back here as we can see, I can see my awesome tunnel. I forgot an L on there. I can even see my tunnels over here. Nothing's running yet, but we have our tunnel window. So we can actually snap that down below, which is kind of cool. And here we go. We have one tunnel. It's currently stopped. It's not started. It's by me. So I can easily control that. And all I just do is run my application as normal. Now Visual Studio knows about the dev tunnel and it says here, hey, check this out. Like this is your new unique URL at T88QZ blah, 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 blah. Continue. Cool. It was created 27 seconds ago. Amazing. So now this is actually doing a local tunnel. You can see the URL is right here of all the Swagger definition. If I go in and I add a breakpoint right here, open up my browser again and hit try it out, hit execute, I'm debugging my local machine right there, everything that I need, that full round trip. So I can now take this URL, put it into my mobile app. I could give this to any of you to test out my API. This is really good in different scenarios where I'm testing something new and I want to have a colleague try it out as well. And I'm tunneling into my machine. Now, dev tunnels have been integrated into a bunch of different features like Teams Toolkit when you're doing Azure functions, like I said, or just doing website development. It's all built in. So dev tunnels, check it out. There's even a CLI. So if you're outside of Visual Studio, you can check it out there too. All right, number two is HTTP files and actually the Explorer for your APIs. And these are kind of one and the same in a way, but this is probably one of my favorite features beyond dev tunnels when it comes to API development that was released this year. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to note is that when I created this web API, it actually added this .http file here for me. This is really cool. We can see that there's actually a local host of 5021. If I go into my app settings, my launch settings here, we can see that there is one on HTTP. So if I actually run this again, this HTTP over here will allow me, even though I'm running this in a dev tunnel, still allow me to send this request off right there to my backend. It hits the breakpoint because again, it's just still running on localhost. And now when I go into here, we can see that the HTTP file allows me to run this request, add the attributes on here. I can see the raw inputs, the headers, the requests, everything coming back. And they've added tons of features into here as well. So we can see the accept, you can do posts, gets, anything basically, deletes, anything that you want right here. So that is really, really neat. And it also integrates really cool into the Endpoint Explorer. So view other Windows Endpoint Explorer. Now this is neat, and it's kind of like feature 3, but I'm going to bundle into feature 2 here, is that this shows me all of my active endpoints in my application. So if I go back over my program, and let me just go ahead and copy and paste this here and just say this is going to be another get. This will be get weather forecast 2 and get weather forecast 2 here. There we go. I can hit this little refresh button, and then now we can see that it is showing me the multiple gets in the Endpoint Explorer, which is pretty neat. I can actually right click and I can open it in the Explorer, so I can go directly to the code, or I can generate the request. So check that out. If I close the Endpoint Explorer down, this has now generated a new send over here for me. So if I run the application now, it will automatically scaffold out that code to send that request. So here in our Swagger, we can see I have get weather forecast 2. I'm going to send the request, and sure enough, I get that back automatically. So those two features combined, HTTP files and the Endpoint Explorer, super hyper productivity, and linking them together is awesome. Next on my list has to be a little AI. That's right, AI is everywhere this past year and probably for the foreseeable future forever. But GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot Chat have definitely been one of my favorite new features added into Visual Studio 2022, not as an extension, but sort of interweaved into different parts as well. It's been really, really cool to see it evolve and add new features inside of Visual Studio as I continue to build out projects. Now, if you're not familiar with GitHub Copilot, it's your Copilot when you're coding, and Copilot Chat enables you to chat or also do commands to get a little bit more insight in your code. So let's check that out. Okay, first things first is I have my weather forecast, and here I'm just creating this little forecast ahead of time, and I have a map get. So one of the cool things early on here is that I could come in, I'll say app dot, and I'll say map get, for example, and GitHub Copilot will automatically recommend what I thinks that it wants me to do next. And here it's thinking that I'm going to do a map get and get a specific ID. So here it's going to say first or default, grab the ID and return that back. This is called ghost text basically. And here, look at this. It's actually like literally like doing a map, for example, and it's kind of giving me a little bit of hint of what I might do. Or I might say app.map delete, for example. And look at this. It literally will write this code for me automatically, which is really nice. So this is taking the context of the application, and it knows that inside of my weather forecast, I have this ID property, and that's what it's looking for basically, and outputting it back, which is really, really, really neat. So that is super awesome. Now, one thing that's also nice is I could come in and I could right click and say, ask Copilot. I could say, how would I create a get to return a single forecast based on the ID. So now GitHub Copilot, I'm having a chat with it, and it's going to give me a little bit more information. So it's going to tell me that I can, like you said, create a get endpoint with map get. This actually links me off, which is kind of cool. And this is going to show me the exact code. I could preview it, I could copy it, and then it gives me more information about what's going on inside of here, which is really, really nice. Now, if you come into code that's brand new, you can also start chatting with Copilot as well. So if I wanted to come in to Copilot Chat, I could ask it the same things like, how do I add a new conversion to kelvins for the weather over here? And that's going to ask it. I'm pretty sure I said Kelvins. I think that's correct. We'll see. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So this is kind of nice. It's going to give me a little bit of information. I'm just having like a random chat over here with it. So here's the weather conversions, and we have Fahrenheit, and we have Kelvin, which is nice. We have all the Celsius in here. So I can get a little bit more context, and I could create a new file, which is kind of cool, or I could hit preview and see it in line or do anything like that. Something else I can do with chat is these brand new commands too. So there's ask VS, clear, create test, doc, explain, fix, generate. So it'll say, generate code to add two numbers, optimize. So let me see if I can do that in here. So I could say, let me go into this delete, go in and just highlight all this code. There we go. Let's do /explain. This is going to now understand that I've selected the delete command, and it's telling me everything about this weather forecast, the ID, where, everything like that, which is cool. So that's really nifty. If I just right click anywhere, have a conversation, or select code. So now we're getting a little bit more context. We can have a chat for me. I can create new files, and I can do everything all inside of Visual Studio using Copilot and Copilot Chat. So that's really, really awesome to see. Now, one thing that I'm doing after I'm coding is often committing code into GitHub or onto Azure DevOps. And inside of Visual Studio 2022, some new features were added to improve that workflow. So let's check this out. So here I am in, say, the same application. And let me just go into the Git changes over here. And I'm going to say, let me go ahead and create a Git repository. This is going to ask me where I want to go, GitHub or Azure DevOps. Let me just go ahead and add a file here, add a README. I'm going to create this private right now, and let's just go ahead and create and publish the code. So this will go ahead, automatically take all of my code in here, submit it up into GitHub. And sure enough, if I just open up my GitHub here, let me go into repositories, and boom, there it is, weather application 1, so which is really cool. But now let's go ahead and take this a little bit further. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch. So under Git, I have all these different commands. Let me go ahead and pull this over a little bit. So I have Git here. I have all these different commands. I can create a new branch. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's do new post. I don't know, that's something like that. Check that out. Perfect. Now let me just go ahead and add a new post here. So I'm going to say app.map post. Let me just do whatever Copilot gives me. Perfect. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add a little message here. So add new post here. What's nice is that if I had a GitHub issue, so let me go ahead over here and create a new issue and say new create post. There we go. Submit that. I can come in, and that's issue 1. So I should be able to go over here and say, let me do 1. There we go. Create post. It gives me that inline here. It's related item, so it's linked automatically. Now, again, I'm on a new branch. So what I'm going to do over here is simply commit all. And this is going to commit all locally. I'm going to push this up over here. And now we can go and automatically create a pull request directly inside of Visual Studio or in the browser. Let's do it inside of Visual Studio. So we get this nice view over here. We get to see the diff right in line, which is nice. We can see where I'm merging into, where I'm going from. Over here, there is actually this little like Copilot little button here. So I actually can do a bunch of stuff. It's already linked, so I could add here, and I'll say, let me just do edit it, fixes number 1. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and create that. I could search for reviewers if I wanted to, and then just boom, I could open this up, and there is my pull request, everything that I need. Now there's a lot of other Git things too. So I could go into here. We can obviously sync, we can manage branches. We can check out things on GitHub. We can also check out the history. So this is kind of neat. We can see the history that's going on here. We can turn on different things as well. So showing remote branches, first parent things. So you can kind of see a bunch of different things in here. It's a very small example, but just tons of nice improvements. So that end-to-end workflow inside of the IDE is super nice with that nice additions to the entire Git flow. And that works also not only on GitHub, but also on Azure DevOps. So that's super cool. Now, there also are a lot of little things inside of the editor that have vastly improved. Now, I'm not going to cover all of them, but there are ones that I really like that I think make a world of a difference. And this first one is Braces Colorization. All right, check this out. So when we go over here, we can notice that I have these summaries here. We can see that they've got some braces here. We have some curlies, and everything is just a generic color. Now, as things get nested, it kind of can get a little bit tricky to see exactly where things start and where things end. So if you go into Tools, Options, and if you go into the text editor over here and into General, you can scroll down and enable this feature, enable brace pair colorization. I actually showed a video of this with an extension early on that Maz created. Now it's directly into the IDE, and a whole bunch of things have changed. For example, we can notice that these little curly braces have automatically changed, which is cool. And we can note here that they change based on their level. So we have blue, we have this pink color here, and we can notice that they are aligning with the same exact context. So this little pink, that is this if statement, is aligning with this. The blue color is aligning with this here as well. So the orange is associated with the orange here of the record. So that one little feature really is a nice little productivity boost. And there's tons of little things inside that IDE like this that really make a world of a difference when developing. And just one little checkbox turns it on just like that. All right, 5 features down, 5 more to go. But before we go any further, if you're enjoying this at all, feel free to give this a thumbs up right down there. It super helps the channel, goes into the algorithm of goodness, and helps other people find the video. And if you are new to the channel, I put out tons of videos every single week right here on my YouTube channel about .NET development, C# development, .NET MAUI development, and so much more. And if you want any of that content, jam that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Now let's get back to my favorite features. Now, I may have told you all of this before, but early on in my career, I worked at a game studio on a game called Shred Nebula, and I made an infamous typo, which was I misspelled the word shield. And for 2 years, I switched that I and E, and nobody told me, which means that it was all throughout my source code, and it wasn't until our lead engineer telling me about it 2 years later that I made it my quest to go and update all of the source code everywhere through tons of solutions, tons of projects, all things like this, which is why now directly inside of Visual Studio, there is a spell checker, which would have saved me back then. So this is pretty cool. Up here in the toolbox, you'll see this ABC with a little check under it, just like if you're inside of Word or Google Docs or something like that. You can toggle it on. I like to have it off by default and toggle on where appropriate. But here we can see that I actually have these little blue squiggles. Look at them again, off, turn them back on, and it's looking at what I'm doing. Now, if I go here, we can say I can ignore it, I can disable spell checker, or I can replace it. So here it gives us all sorts of different items here. I'm gonna say bracing, and it just automatically updates it. Here we have weather as well. So here we can go and say, okay, well, what is this again? And here we'll go ahead and change this automatically to weathers. There we go. And now, just like that, we're having all of that spell check directly integrated into Visual Studio. And again, if I had this years ago, it would have definitely saved the day. Creating accessible applications is near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that everyone in the world can use my applications regardless of what I'm building, whether it's a web app, a WPF application, a .NET MAUI application, or a Windows application. I want to make sure that they work great and I take advantage of the native capabilities to make sure that they're accessible. And now in Visual Studio, there's an accessibility checker. So here's a beautiful WPF application that I created. And in fact, actually GitHub Copilot created it for me. So thank you, GitHub Copilot. And all I'm going to do here is hit debug. Now, when I do this, it's going to bring up the application. There we go. And if I zoom in here, you can see that there's a bunch of different items in here, such as the live preview. So I can tap on that. I get this little preview inside of Visual Studio. Amazing. If I open this again, we can see that I have other items like selecting elements. I can display layout adornments, task focus. I can look at binding failures. And then there's this one, which is scan for accessibility issues. I can tap on that and it's going to run the accessibility checker. And it's going to show me that the name property of a focusable element may not be null. So I'd want to go ahead and add that in over here. I can click on it. And I can go ahead and add that immediately. I can also get this here in the live visual tree by running the same thing. There's the scan for accessibility issues. So as my application gets larger, I'm able to come into each screen, check for accessibility, common errors, and easily fix them up in my code. Little features like that with one button click show me how to make my apps more accessible is going to save me so much time and enable more users to use my application no matter what situation they're in. Accessibility checker, it's awesome. Okay, next up are actually a few little preview features. Now, these are inside of Visual Studio today shipping, and I only roll with the preview. So I'm on the latest and greatest, which means that you'll get it very, very soon if you're not there, but you just run them side by side. Why not? Which is actually support for .NET Aspire and some of the new integrations that help you scaffold it all out. Now, I've talked a lot about tooling, such as publishing directly from Visual Studio into Azure, into container apps, or into static web apps. But the new .NET Aspire orchestration is integrated directly into Visual Studio. That makes it super duper easy to get started. And I absolutely love it. Not only with the templates, but with some of the support that's in there as well. So let's check it out. Now here, if I go in and create a new project, when I have the Aspire workload installed, I can go to .NET Aspire. And here I can add a .NET empty Aspire app or a whole starter application, which gives me a backend and a front end, and even gives me Redis for caching. But if I just come in to a web API and create this, I have the ability to not only enable Docker, but also enlist in .NET Aspire orchestration, which is really, really neat. So this will give me all the different things that I need for my web API inside of my .NET Aspire orchestration. So what this looks like now is that we have multiple projects. We have not only our standard web API with the HTTP file, of course, that I talked about. We have this app host, which is going to host the web application. And if I added a front end on it as well, it would add it there too. We can come in and we can also look at the service defaults. And what I love here is that this automatically configures open telemetry, health checks, service discovery, adds resiliency for me, and it will automatically handle metrics and tracing and everything right there. So now if I just run this application, this is going to not only create my web API, but it's also going to handle all of the orchestration work. And Visual Studio knows that the app host is my startup. And here what we can see is that we have our application running, there we go, on localhost. So I can click on that and we get our Swagger, we get our get weather forecast, try it out. There we go, execute on it. I can come back over and I can look at my traces and we can see all the traces coming in. I could look at any metrics if I had one coming in here. So all my different metrics that I want. If I had containers, I could pull a container up here if I wanted to, and we can handle all of that automatically. So that's super duper neat. Now, the other thing that I love is that I can actually right click on the project and say add. And down here we see .NET Aspire component or orchestration support. So that's really neat. If you have an existing web API, you can add the orchestration support. Or if you want to, you can say add .NET Aspire component. This will go off and it'll find any of the different components here for me. So these are all the ones that are here. There's so many of them. I can automatically configure and add the Redis cache for me, which is really, really neat. Go off, install it, and we're totally good to go. So we get those nice little things there automatically built in. Now let me go back into my other project that we saw earlier, the first web application. There we go. And let's go ahead and try to add the orchestration to that project. So here we go. We have our WPF application, which is rad, but we also have, if I close all the tabs here, the normal web app. If I come in, right click, add, and I say .NET Aspire orchestration support, this is going to ask me, hey, what do you want to call it? Okay, I want to call it the web application 1. It's going to create app host and service defaults, add it in there. And now it's going to scaffold it all out for me automatically, just like we saw in that existing project. And it's even going to come in and add the add service defaults directly into this project. So it handles everything for me automatically. So not only just being able to open and run and do everything like that in your .NET Aspire applications, but easily be able to add orchestration support to existing apps, or in this case, even add new components in. So that support is super awesome as I'm building my applications out. Now, another feature that you've seen me use already is the brand new UI refresh that you have to toggle on in preview, but you might already have it based on when you're watching this. And there's tons of great optimizations here. I love this new look and feel. We get this more modern UI with the floating tabs here. We get the rounded corner radiuses. We get new UI themes that are built into here. If you actually go down to tools, themes, for example, I finally get my spicy red directly into Visual Studio, and I'm a happy camper, which actually just makes me so happy that it's all there. You can easily create more themes. You can toggle on. Here's Cool Slate, for example, coming in and toggling it down. You can, of course, go into any of the ones that you like, or using the light or dark themes automatically. You can get more themes, everything in there. Now, there's a great blog here. It's kind of hard to just kind of show you some of the little details and some of the little things that the team did. But over here on the Visual Studio blog, there is a great post from Dante here and others going into the different look and feel of what went into this. So sort of driven by the feedback here, we can see the improvements that are kind of gone and here as it's gone before the different visual refresh, making things a little bit more comfy to look at, which I absolutely love. And of course, that visual refresh here. So being able to toggle between all those different options, there's all sorts of little things. There is another great blog post over here in the first look that goes a little bit deeper as well from the entire team, going through some of these little different approaches so you can see it evolve over time. So just giving it that little bit of a modern refresh. I absolutely have been loving it since I turned it on, and it just kind of gives things a little bit more space when I'm developing. Now, that being said, there are tons of little things like this built in. And I gotta say, the Visual Studio team has been crushing it on their blog. They've been documenting all of the different features, like this AI-powered name suggestions over here, which is really, really cool. Scroll to expand document tabs over here. Getting Git commits written by GitHub Copilot. You can just browse through this year of the amazing new releases, but individual features that were added in to each version of Visual Studio, which I absolutely love. And I'm showing a lot of C# and .NET stuff, but there's tons of improvements into the C++, into TypeScript, and so much more. I love just scrolling through all of these amazing things and seeing updates along the way of all of these features that have been coming in. So definitely check out the blog. I'll put a link in the show notes below, but the UI visual refresh is a stunner. I love it. It's not crazy where it's changing the entire IDE. It's the nice little subtle updates that just bring joy when I see them inside of it. So there you go. UI refresh, definitely toggle it on, or you might already have it already. All right, last but not least, something that's part of your Visual Studio subscription, whether it is a free community subscription license or it's a pro or enterprise license, which is the C# dev kit for Visual Studio Code. Now, I know you're saying, oh my goodness, James, or you're just talking about Visual Studio 2022 only, all this other stuff. But listen, I pop back and forth between my Mac machine, between my Windows machine, and sometimes, yes, I even toggle over in the world of Linux, and being able to jump around and get great productivity features directly in VS Code in all my projects and solutions is pretty rad. So let's check it out. If you haven't yet, it's really, really simple. You can go into the extensions and you can install the C# dev kit. Now, what's great here is that it also comes with an upgraded C# extension, which uses the brand new language server protocol server, which is powered by Roslyn, and it gives you great Razor updates as well. That's part of it. And then additionally, if you're a .NET MAUI developer, there is the .NET MAUI extension inside of here too. It also comes with IntelliCode. Now, if you're using GitHub Copilot, you just use that. But if you want IntelliCode and you don't have a GitHub Copilot subscription, you'd also get IntelliCode as well. So you can actually see here when I go into the dependencies, I get all these different things here. And it's an extension pack, which has the IntelliCode for C# dev kit. So now what this means is that I can come into the project and I can say create new .NET project. And what this does is it gives me nice integrations directly into Visual Studio. So here I'm just going to say, let me create a new web API. And let me just go ahead and create it on my desktop. Here I'm going to say new apps. There we go. And I'm going to put it in that folder. I'm going to say, what do I want it to be called at this point, basically, so it knows the folder that I want. I'll say web application 4, hit enter. And now what this is going to give me is my entire just sort of normal folder explorer, file explorer, like you would imagine it being inside of Visual Studio. But look at this right here. If I actually just go up, we see a solution explorer, and this is really cool. I can come in and I can drop this down, and now I get the same sort of experience that I'm used to inside of Visual Studio, on my desktop over here. I could also come in and I could, on the solution, say, let me go ahead and add a new project, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new class library here. Call it class library 1. I'm going to create it in the default directory. Actually, I'm going to do a different directory. There we go. I'm just going to put it right here. Perfect. Okay, oh yeah, it's actually just right there. Perfect. This is on my desktop. And now we get a class library 1, which is really neat. Now what I can do is I can obviously right click on my web app. I can say add project reference, add a class library, just like that, which is really, really neat. Now I get great debugging support built in. I get the language server all built in automatically. So that means I get all the different IntelliSense here that I would expect and know and love already. I also get great Test Explorer integration. I don't have any tests here, but if I added a test program, I'd get testing all additional in here, which is really, really great. I can go in, I can run and debug, I can see C# or .NET MAUI, and I can say, what do I want to run? So here I'm going to go ahead and say, let me go ahead and serve it up with just HTTP. And this is going to automatically build up the project, get it all up and running, and get it all there. So just like my normal experience that I'm used to inside of Visual Studio, while I don't have obviously the full IDE features, I'm getting that nice sort of flow that I'm used to when using VS Code. Now, the nice thing here is that if I'm using .NET MAUI, I also get similar experiences as well. So this is really cool. Now, on top of that, what's great about VS Code is that you can get some different extensions. So if you wanted, different, client support for HTTP client or the REST client support, you can add that in there. There's tons of things from the community that are all there. If you want to come in and just say, MAUI, for example, there's Telerik, there's a bunch of other extensions. You obviously do like Uno development, Avalone development, all that different stuff inside here. So you get all these things, like here's the publish archive tool. So a lot of these things are from Microsoft inside the C# dev kit, but you have this whole ecosystem that you can tap into, which is super duper cool. All right, there are my top 10 features, including a little bonus one of the C# dev kit there, because, obviously log in with your Visual Studio extension and get it, your license and get that all set up. But what do you think? How did I do? Are any of these your top favorite features added into Visual Studio 2022 this year and the year 2023? What are you looking forward to? Are you trying some of the previews? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and of course, jam on that subscribe button. I'd super appreciate it. That's going to do it for this year. And of course, this could be 2024. So welcome to 2024, 2025, whenever you're watching this. Hope that everyone had a great holiday, great new year. And I can't wait to make more awesome videos in 2024. So until next time, thanks for watching.